We got a little instant reaction from up here on Capitol Hill from a Republican Senator Johnny Isakson of Georgia, member of the Finance Committee, one of those senators who's been willing to sit down and talk with his president about budget issues. What do you make of what you just heard of the president and the chances for a shutdown?
Well, the president knows he's got two things in his favor: a veto pen in his hand and enough votes in the Senate to beat anything we try and do because he controls the majority. So he's drawing a hard line in the sand. I still think there's room to negotiate, and I still wish he was at the table negotiating, because you don't want to negotiate against yourself, you want to negotiate with him. Hopefully the House will come up and proffer something before midnight that might get us to the table and negotiate so we can mitigate the shutdown. If not, then we'll start a shutdown at midnight tonight.
We've already heard from Harry Reid that the bill that is going to be coming over is not acceptable to him. It's going to include a one-year delay in the individual mandate as part of the Affordable Care Act, also going to include an end to the subsidies for members of Congress and their staffs in terms of their health care dollars. What do you make of that proposal and the chances that it can get anywhere here in Congress?
Well, you have to take Harry at his word on those two offers, but there are other things to consider. You know, the president himself has delayed the employer mandate. He's taken such certain exemptions and given them to unions. He's made changes himself because the law is very difficult to implement at this particular point in time. The device tax, which is very unpopular and really wrong, is something we might offer or proffer. A shorter-term CR might be offered or proffered in order not to have a shutdown tonight. There's still negotiating room, but the clock's running.
There's still negotiating room. What is your sense right now about the conversations that might be happening behind closed doors? Is Harry Reid talking to Mitch McConnell? Is there any conversation taking place at all?
There usually are. I don't know that they are, but there usually are. But I think it's going to take a vote on what the House sends over before we get to stage two.
Get to stage two. What do you think is at risk here for Republicans in terms of the public opinion polls suggesting that Republicans, as they did back in the 90s, might get more blame for this?
Shutting down the government is not a good idea. There are a lot of people out there whose mortgage payments, whose monthly payments, whose car payments, whose children education, whose doctor bills depend on their job. If you shut down the government and you shut down that flow of cash, it brings a hardship on them. I'm a product of the last shutdown. I was elected to replace Newt Gingrich when he resigned as Speaker after he lost the speakership in 1998 because of the shutdown in 95 and 96. Shutdowns have consequences. Most of them are not good. We'd be better off to be doing our job. We'd be better off to be doing appropriations bills, budgets, and oversight on a timely basis during the year and not always pushing everything off to the last minute.
What is your sense right now about the possibility for that in the midst of this crisis, once again, both sides talking past each other, that maybe there's a silver lining here, an opportunity to sit down and talk about that bigger budget solution that's been so elusive this whole time?
This president has 3 years left. And if he looks back on the last 5 years, the one thing he'll remember is this: we never did appropriation bills, a budget never got signed, we never had a guidepost to guide this government. It's time in his legacy be to turn that around. Let's appropriate like we should, let's budget like we should, let's do oversight like we should. Let's run the people's house and the United States government like they have to run their homes back at home.
What are your worries right now about the debt ceiling shutdown? We can't even agree right now on a 6-week spending bill. What are the chances Republicans, Democrats, the White House, and Congress are going to reach some sort of agreement to increase the debt ceiling?
The president will tell you there's no negotiating on the debt ceiling, but remember this: in August of 2011, the Budget Control Act passed because it was leveraged against the debt ceiling, increased to $16.7 trillion. It is a good time to negotiate if you're negotiating about the right subject, and in that case, the right subject is growing debt, growing deficit, and growing borrowing. So there's a chance to reach a deal on that.
Do you think there's a realistic possibility that if there is no deal, that all of a sudden we are going past that point and the United States government is at risk of default?
I don't think the United States Congress will let the United States government default.
So let's not take it off the table.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm one of 535.
Your own expectations right now for how this plays out over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Are we just going to see battle after battle here, or are we going to see resolution?
I think it's time for an end game. I think both sides realize that. The president's drawn a line in the sand on the House offered bill that's coming over tonight. That doesn't necessarily draw the line in the sand on anything else that might come by. So let's hope we get an opportunity before midnight tonight to find a sweet spot, make a deal, and not shut the government down.
Is John Boehner's job safe?
I'm not in the House, but John Boehner is one of my best friends. It ought to be safe. He has done a masterful job with the House of Representatives, is a consummate legislator, and a great servant of the people.
All right, Senator Johnny Isakson, some instant reaction. Thank you, sir, for the time. Appreciate it. That's the latest from here up on Capitol Hill. House set to vote this evening, and then we'll see what the Senate does after that, Pim.
All right, thanks very much.